The shady origins of Ripple and Newcoin, and how Jed McCaleb and Chris Larsen gifted themselves almost 9 billion XRP tokens, then tried to reset the ledger to cover up this transaction, and how they subsequently used Tacostand wallet and other wallets to dump on retail to dispose of those tokens. So, if you're new to the channel, welcome to CryptoCurrent. I'm your host, CryptoRick. And today we'll be discussing the shady origins of Ripple and proof that we have not been privy to the things that Ripple have been truly doing in their past. So without further ado, let's just get straight into it. So all of this information is available via a Twitter thread by a gentleman. I think his name is called Scam something. It's on the Twitter, on my Twitter if you want to have a look. He did all this work to compile information and screenshots proving that they actually gifted themselves with these tokens. So let's start first. The story begins on the 10th of the 3rd, 2012, when Ripple decided to change their name to OpenCoin less than 1 month after incorporating Newcoin. So you can see here, the name of this corporation is OpenCoin Incorporated, and basically it was previously called Newcoin. On the 10th of the 19th, the 19th of the 10th, 12, they got a legal opinion from Perkins and Coie about a cryptocurrency they were creating called Ripple Credits, which was an early name for XRP. So you can see here addressed to Chris Larsen and Jed McCaleb and OpenCoin that it said Ripple's company is developing a decentralized open global peer-to-peer cryptocurrency payment network, Ripple Network, and a new cryptocurrency, Ripple Credits. So initially they called this Ripple Credits. Interestingly, they said here, and is used by end users of the Ripple network, RippleNet, the Ripple client software. So it's already identified as a kind of software. A finite number of Ripple credits will be created and distributed, and basically there's some finality to the tokens. So this is the Ripple credits. It was basically initially called Ripples. So the Ripples were the XRP, and it was supposed to be a fixed and finite number of 100 billion. No more can ever be made. On the 22nd of the 12th, 2012, Jed McCaleb actually reset the XRP ledger, restarting the blockchain for the final time. And this recreated all XRP. He then posted about this on Ripple's forum. So you can see here Jed, co-founder, and he said the ledger was just reset. So ask me or Arthur Brito for credits again. This will be the final ledger, barring some catastrophe. And you can see here a post by Arthur Brito, who said, "Can I get some credits following the address to test a little bit?" Now, they were obviously testing back and forth. But as we will see, they actually did send some payments and some tokens to their wallets. So you can see here, this was, it says here, the Genesis block of XRP is on the 1st of the 1st, 2013. This is because the first 32,569 blocks of the ledger had disappeared. No other blockchain ever had this problem. How was this the problem? How is this possible? So you can see here the Genesis, and you can see here when it was actually closed. It was closed on January 1st, 2013. And you can see here that there was a note here. It says, due to a mishap early in the XRP ledger's history, ledger through 32,000, etc., were lost. This loss represents approximately the first week of the ledger's history. So you can see here there was a loss of the ledger because they were trying to basically cover up the transactions wherein they gifted themselves all these tokens. You can see here that initially the source code of the XRPL network was not open source. It was actually closed source, and for a period of time, Ripple actually ran the servers. So they had admin privileges to basically do whatever they want. So you can even see here a quote from David Schwartz in 2013. He said, "The client source is open, the server source is not open yet. As soon as the server source code is open, it will be very difficult to make changes in Ripple's behavior." So he's basically admitting that once we go live and make this a public source code, we basically can't change anything with Ripple. So that's why they had to alter it beforehand and pay themselves before they made it open source. So in that way, they, and you can see here, interesting, there is someone that says, "I'll give you 1 Bitcoin for 11,000 Ripple." So this is very early on in the scene. So Ripple might have deleted the ledgers to try hiding the initial distribution of XRP, or maybe it was to hide the 9 billion XRP him and Chris Larsen each stole. Here is a former Ripple board member's opinion, Jesse Powell, on the matter. So he said, "Jed and I got started with Ripple in 2011. I believe Chris joined sometime around 2012. Prior to Chris joining, the company had 2 investors. I'm not sure when Jed and Chris allocated themselves the XRP." So he's already admitting here that Jed and Chris allocated themselves XRP. But they say it was before the incorporation, which occurred September 2012. In my view, the 2 stole company assets when they took the XRP without approval of the early investors and without sharing the allocation amongst the other shareholders. Whatever coin they allocated themselves prior to the incorporation of OpenCoin, I believe, was abandoned. There had been several ledger resets between September 2012 and December 2012, and a new version of Ripple emerged built by OpenCoin, clearly with company resources. If Jed and Chris continued to run the old software to preserve their beta coin, I have no problem. Unfortunately, Jed and Chris again allocated themselves XRP in 2012. Unfortunately, Jed and Chris again allocated themselves, Jed and Chris allocated themselves XRP in December 2012. The XRP unquestionably was not gifted by Jed and Chris to the company. It did not exist prior to the company's existence, and it was generated with company resources. That XRP has always belonged to the company, and it was taken from the company by Jed and Chris. I'm asking them to return what they have stolen. Again, these are not my allegations, guys. This is from their own people, their own former Ripple board members who were there when it was first started. And they said that they took all these XRP tokens. Jed and Chris had already had a huge stake in the company itself. It's entirely unnecessary for them to have another side stake in XRP, which prevents a conflict of interest and a number of serious and debilitating problems for the company. Regarding Chris's management style, he has botched at least one acqui-hire and cost the company several high-caliber employees. It has also cost at least one board member other than myself. How many settlement deals has the company made, and how many? And it continues. Now you understand the real reason why Jed McCaleb left, and it wasn't his girlfriend. It wasn't falling out over a girl. It was because there was internal dispute about former Ripple members stealing from the allocation, which they were not supposed to have stolen. And basically, that's what Tacostand is. It's his side hustle XRP that he stole, and basically selling it to try and basically dump it on the market and get rid of it. You can even see here more clear proof. This is a forum, and you can see here Jesse Powell, who's that person that wrote it up. He said the question was, did Arthur agree to return his share of the 20% of tokens? Jesse Powell replies, Arthur wasn't asked, seemed irrelevant if we couldn't get Jed or Chris to both do it. So he says, Jesse, not sure if you're allowed to elaborate on this, but what overall XRP distribution strategy did you and Jed want to see happen that Chris didn't agree with? He goes, the original plan was to give away 85% of all XRP within 3 to 5 years, with another 10% also going to fund development and 5% going for profit-related activity. Now, this slide is going to blow your mind. He goes, I'm also curious about Arthur views. He is one of the founders and has 6 billion XRPs, or is it less? He said, the only way this currency can succeed, listen to this, guys. The only way this currency can succeed is by doing a massive dump of the hoard and letting the market decide the rest. So far, it looks doomed. This is 8 years ago, guys. This is way before the court case, way before anything. And look what Jesse replies. Unfortunately, even if Jed dumps his, which he did, we still have Chris and Arthur's to worry about. Presumably someday they'll be able to dump it. And unless they do some sort of end lock time on it, there's the risk that the funds could be stolen and dumped in the meantime. And that's exactly what happened. Once they got a hand of those XRPs, they immediately went and dumped it on the side in the tune of 150 to half a billion dollars. So basically, we were the entrance liquidity for Jed and Chris's exit liquidity. And you guys know this. They've been dumping on us for the last 6 years, and they've been delaying this whole hoo-ha to give time to actually sell and dispose of all these XRP tokens, because Jed McCaleb and Chris Larsen knew they weren't going to be needing it, or they were basically selling any extra spares, some would argue. But regardless, this is very shocking news. Number one, it destroys the view that somehow, this token is decentralized. Basically the owners own a large portion of it. We're talking 9 plus 9 billion. That's 18 billion. So and then plus Arthur Brito's share, which apparently was 20%. Okay. Where's the decentralization, folks? Let's look at official document. Here is the agreement that Arthur Brito was to get 2% of all XRP for his code contributions. Now, the writing is very small, but it basically says, agreement with Arthur Brito, September 17, 2012. Chris Larsen, Jed McCaleb, and Arthur Brito, the founders, whom developed a distributed open source platform, yada, 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 agree that it is written. The founders agree that 80% of all Ripple credits shall be allocated to the company. The founders further agree that Arthur Brito shall have 2% of the Ripple credits on the official ledger. You can read that in your own time. Signed, Jed McCaleb, Chris Larsen, Arthur Brito. Now, you guys wanted hard proof. There's your hard proof. And again, thanks goes out to that gentleman on Twitter. I do have his Twitter thread. He was the one who compiled all this. So do check out and subscribe to his Twitter. These are documented. You can verify the XRP ledger for yourself. You can check the Genesis block. You can check the tokens. Everything now makes sense. Now, if you're still going to come on my YouTube channel and say that I'm making up stuff, or that I am somehow away with the fairies, or that I've somehow being too harsh against Ripple, then clearly now we're entering in what we call cult mentality. Because if you have seen this presentation from the start to the end, and you still think Ripple is, out for your best interest and doing everything for your best interest, and selling the XRP token because it's going to be worth $10,000, you really need to reconsider, because if that was really the valuation of XRP, these gentlemen would not have sold their XRP tokens. They would have basically held it because it would have been worth trillions of dollars. It's also the reason why David Schwartz refused to be paid in XRP, because he knew the value was basically not worth even holding. He basically preferred fiat currency, and this is big coming from the guy who came up with the distributed ledger patent, purportedly, is he actually declined being paid in virtual currency and instead preferred to be paid in fiat. Now, what does that tell you about the XRP token? Do your own research, come to your own conclusions. I used to be very adamant in the XRP army. But the evidence is building, guys, and we need to be rational, neutral investors. So that being said, do like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Otherwise, stay safe, hold the coins. We're all going to make it in the end. Let us surf and ride through the Kali Yuga. And as always, have a good day.